Hey guys, I'm Randy.
And I'm Daniel.
We're two lifelong friends and musicians, and when we're not playing gigs, we like to talk games.
And today on the Gaming Gig Podcast, we're talking about the trials and tribulations of working through a backlog.
So before we start every episode, Daniel, we kind of like to talk about what games we're currently playing right now. And this really leads really well into the topic since we're talking about backlog.
It sure does.
Just tell me, what games are you playing right now?
Well, man, I kind of bared my soul to you last night about how I just haven't had any time to play any games, and it's kind of got me down in the dumps, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
The only games I've played hardly this week are, of course, the customary Sea of Thieves. You know, we're still wreaking havoc on the high seas. You know, that hasn't changed.
Follow us on Twitch, guys.
Follow us on Twitch. But beyond that, I might have played like a collective hour of Elden Ring this week, which, if you know anything about Elden Ring, that's like no progression.
Yeah.
You know, that's like, I went up a few levels maybe and died a lot, and that was it. And I really like Elden Ring, so that hurts me just a little bit. But
so you're playing Sea of Thieves and Elden Ring.
Yeah.
So Elden Ring is the new game, and you're working through it. Mm-hmm. And then we have Sea of Thieves, which we stream. And that's it for you right now.
That's it.
That's it. So you're not working through any games in your backlog.
I mean, I want to be, but I just know that I can't be.
You're just not right now.
We're talking about making some schedule adjustments so that maybe I can do that. But
we're gonna help you out, Daniel.
Yeah, I'm maxed out, folks. I'm maxed out.
So
what about you, man?
Yeah, I'm playing. Let's see here. I'm playing Horizon Forbidden West. Obviously, I'm playing Sea of Thieves. I'm playing Fable 3 now because this past week, Catherine and I finished playing Fable 2. We're playing those games in co-op, which is really cool. And Fable 3 has a better co-op mode. It's like better integrated. The person that is playing like the second character is much more able to participate and be involved in all the things. Whereas in Fable 2, it kind of, the second player felt a little bit like they didn't get the full experience.
Yeah.
In Fable 3, it's still not 100%, but it's way closer to being equal, which is awesome.
That is awesome. I know we talked about when we had Catherine over for that episode a while back about, the best couch co-op games. You guys talked about how, a characteristic you really look for is the co-op experience balanced, between player one and player two?
Because it's often not. It almost never is. So it's cool to play a game that is almost there. The games that do that the best, that really balance it, are really the most fun to play co-op. And then the game that I'm most excited about right now is I'm playing Half-Life Alyx in VR, and my goodness, that game is phenomenal. So I'm going to do everything I can over the next couple weeks to convince Daniel to pick that up on VR, because you have the.
I didn't think you were really enjoying that one.
Oh my gosh, I know you're.
I'm just kidding.
He's just kidding, but
he brings it up often.
Dude, it's so good. It is seriously so good.
I need to play it. I need to get a VR game going. I haven't really tackled a big VR game since I got my Oculus. I mean, I played the crap out of some ping pong.
Right.
But I haven't played
You haven't played like a big game.
I haven't played a big game. Yeah.
Dude, well, that's the one, and it's phenomenal. It is a $60 game. It's full price, and lots of times VR games are on the cheaper side. I think they're still on the cheaper side to try to entice people into actually buying them in the first place.
Yep.
VR for a lot of people still feels like an experiment in ways. But and Half-Life Alyx is a full price game. It's unless you get it on sale, and it wasn't on sale when I went to get it.
Yeah.
It's $60, but it is absolutely worth the money because it is phenomenal. So speaking of, Half-Life Alyx was a game that that was on my backlog list. I hadn't necessarily purchased it, but it was on my list of games I want to play these games.
Yeah.
So how many games do you have in your backlog right now? How many games do you have? Do you have a lot?
It's funny, we're recording a podcast about backlogs. You'd think I'd come in with a number.
Right.
But I mean, I can give just kind of a general idea. It's gotta be over 25.
Really? Oh my gosh. Where are they mostly? Where are they? What consoles, or what type of games are we looking at?
I can think of just off the top of my head, I can probably think of multiple games on every console I own.
Okay.
I've definitely got some Switch, definitely got some Xbox, got some PS5. I've even got a couple on PC.
Do you have any games that you're itching to play that you just haven't had time yet?
Yeah,
Any
Inscription.
specifics? Inscription?
I wanted to play Inscription since before I had my PC.
Yeah.
But
Wasn't that like you got a PC to play Inscription?
I didn't buy a PC just to play Inscription.
You did, guys.
I mean, I want to play Inscription really bad. It's supposed to be awesome. And I just know that like that game deserves my focus. And so I'm waiting till I'm ready.
Yeah, and you don't want to be like playing something like Elden Ring where it's really a big commitment and then also be doing that.
No, can't do that. I really don't think I should be playing anything with Elden Ring because it's just so massive.
Yeah. And I think that mentality that you have about like wanting to be like completely dedicating yourself to a game is one of the reasons why you often don't play multiple games at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely. I have experimented in both because I know you you'll have like a co-op game going and then you'll have a VR game going and then you'll have like the Sea of Thieves on the side and then you'll have like a PS5 game going. I just can't really do that. Like I have done it before to some success on occasion, but most of the time I just feel like I'm making such slow progression in every game that it frustrates me.
Yeah. Well, it is slow. It is slow progress. And that's something that doesn't necessarily bother me because what I found is that like although I do work through games slowly and I play a number at once, you'll come to a point where you're always finishing something. So you do get that satisfaction of always like, oh, I'll just finish this game and then I'll finish this game. But they do take more time than if I just like sat down and played one at a time. But I have a system and we'll get to that because I think one of the topics we're going to talk about here in a little bit is like how many games you should play at once. So we'll get to that in a second. But so you have backlog games in all different consoles and stuff. I do too, to a degree, but I think my backlog, I have a much smaller, like what I would consider to be my backlog. It kind of comes down to how you define backlog.
Yeah, that's true.
I have games that I have, purchased and I want to get around to playing one of these days, but that's kind of like in my secondary backlog. And then I have my like immediate backlog, which is really just like probably like 6 to 10 games that I have sitting there in a stack, and I pull them away from the whole collection and they're sitting there on their own and I'm planning on working through them. So like, the ones I can think of like off the top of my head that I know is in that stack is the new Mario Golf game for Switch.
Oh yeah, I didn't even know you had that.
Yeah, I got that for Christmas, so it's been a couple months and I haven't played it yet. I've got Resident Evil 2 and 3, the
remasters or remakes?
It's not a remaster. I guess it would be
reboots.
I guess they're reboots. And then so those 2 games, and then let me think. Oh, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yep, that's in my backlog.
I've got that one too. There's a couple. I just named like 4, but I know there's somewhere more like 6 to 10 of them that I have currently. But it's kind of like a small curated list out of the. Oh, I just hit my mic. A small curated list out of the games that I have purchased. Honestly, most of the games that I own, I've played. Yeah. I really don't have that many games that I've purchased and I haven't played yet.
I'm even thinking about like games that I have on Game Boy or like retro games that I have access to in some way, whether that's
they're in your NSO or they're on Game Pass.
Yeah,
Now if I counted all those,
I mean, because there's so many of those games I want to play.
Yeah. I guess it
really does come down to your definition of backlog.
What is a backlog?
Yeah.
Is it like, because if you say games on Game Pass that I would like to play, oh my gosh, like the number goes up, exponentially.
There's so many great indie games on Game Pass that I have downloaded on my Xbox right now. I don't have any idea when I'll get to play.
I guess if you've downloaded them, then you can really count it in your backlog.
When am I going to play Ori and Will of the Wisps? Will of the Wisps.
Wisps.
I really want to.
You'll get there. So, like, how many games is too many games to have in your backlog? Is there a number? I mean, I think it depends on you as a person. I would say, like, it's too many games when you're buying games and you're not playing, like, even half of them or even a fraction of them. And you're purchasing them and, with the caveat that it is negatively affecting you. It's negatively affecting you financially. That is, if it's negatively affecting you financially, you need to stop buying games. It doesn't even matter if you're playing them.
Just play the games you got.
Yeah, just go back and play Breath of the Wild again.
Just sell some games. You go to GameStop, sell some of those games you're not going to play. Get yourself a few months of Game Pass, okay, and you'll be okay.
Yeah.
Or just go play Breath of the Wild again.
Otherwise, I don't know that there are too many games. We talked about in a prior podcasts, we talked about collecting games, and like collecting is
It's part of it.
It's part of it, and it's fun. So, if you enjoy collecting, and hey, I'm not going to probably play this game realistically. That's okay.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's an exact number. I think it varies from person to person on what's too many games.
I mean, there's definitely some like big deal retro games that if somehow like I found a great deal on like Earthbound on Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to buy it.
Yeah.
But do I have immediate plans to go play Earthbound? No.
No, right. Well, that's more just purely for the collector.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like that's for the collector.
But then is it even really technically in your backlog? I think it comes down to the definition.
I don't know. In my mind, maybe not.
Yeah.
I don't know. Because Earthbound
it's already just a collector's item. Yeah.
Earthbound is already almost in my backlog because it's available to me on NSO now.
Yeah. So, how many games should you play at once is our next topic we're going to talk about. And this is something that I have, over the years, I've developed a system.
Yeah, you've got it down.
I've got my system down to how many games I play at once. And I can tell you the exact number of games that I play at once, which is 4 games. Okay? I play 4 games at a time, and one of those games is a co-op game that I'm playing with Catherine. So that one is unshakable, and it always has a spot.
I thought you were playing Fable 3.
No, a co-op game. Any co-op game.
Yeah, I know. I thought you said it was called Unshakable. My bad.
Goodness. Okay, I'm going to continue what I was working on here. Guys, just don't let Daniel ruin your day with these jokes. Okay, so the next is whatever game that we're streaming, which happens to be Sea of Thieves right now, and probably will be for the foreseeable future.
Forever.
So Sea of Thieves is also on the list. So the other 2 spots is I have one game that I play in the mornings when I first get up, when I'm having my coffee, and that game is usually the new release game, whatever like the big game that's out right now that if I want to, that's my FOMO game, And right now that's
your FOMO game.
That's my FOMO game.
That's what Elden Ring is for me.
So in the mornings I start out with my FOMO game, and right now it's Horizon Forbidden West. And then during the day, because I work at home, throughout the day I might get a break here and there where I can take some time and sit down and play a game, and that's the wild card game. So that's the 4th one, and that one is oftentimes a VR game because I really like VR games, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. That could just be that's often my backlog game.
Yeah.
So if it's not a VR game, it's one that I've been wanting to play for a while. So it really just varies, but those are my 4 games. So I have my FOMO game in the morning. Throughout the day, I play my backlog game or maybe a VR game. And then I have Sea of Thieves. And then before I go to bed at night, Catherine and I play our co-op game. And that's the 4 games. And I find that through playing those every day, I usually get through a number of games per month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I always have the Sea of Thieves.
Yeah.
And then I always have something else. Like right now it's Elden Ring. And there's been times when I also dabbled in having like a handheld game.
Yeah.
Something that's like really bite-sized, whether or not that was Switch or Game Boy or whatever.
I did the same thing with my wild card
DS.
game. Instead of a VR game, sometimes it will be a handheld game.
Yeah. So like, and I still honestly, I just love handheld so much. I still kind of think I could handle that actually.
You probably
I just don't really have one going right now because I just don't have a lot of time in general. But
right.
But like for a while it was a Metroid game, because we were going through Metroid Boot Camp, and
right.
So I probably need to. I really do want to double down on finishing Arceus, so I probably need to turn that into my handheld game.
Yeah, I mean that's the great thing about Switch games is that they can very easily become your handheld games. And I don't know what it is about games on Switch. I love when throughout the day game when I might just have 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there. I love when it's on a Switch because then I can just grab it and it's just kind of like cool to veg out on the couch. It just feels different than looking at a TV.
It does.
I don't know why. It just has a different vibe.
It feels like less of a commitment. It's less setup. It's very casual.
You just grab it and you're just playing it. Yeah, it's just, and maybe it's just because when we were kids, that was what we had is handhelds, and that's just how we did it.
Because my mom was watching the news or a soap opera. Or whatever.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So
had to play one of those Game Boy games.
So this kind of brings us to our next question, which is, what is a realistic expectation for how many games you can actually play? And do we mean that as in all in one, like at once, like?
Well, I think we really just covered that.
Yeah, we did.
But I mean, if we want to talk about how many games you could actually play in the grand scheme of things, I mean, that's that's quite a lofty topic.
Yeah, I mean, like, I would think I wanted to, excuse me, I'm about to burp. Ooh, okay,
Gross.
I succeeded in holding it down. Okay, so in terms of like, you know, how many games can you play? You know, you eventually you're gonna get bored with it. You know, I mean, games are good in that they have a lot of variety, so they will keep you interested for a while. But at the same time, you know, you don't want to hit your limit. You don't want to be playing games just to play games, just because you feel like you need to.
Yeah.
I know that, like, probably most people don't have that problem, but us as gaming content creators, we probably feel that a little more than the average person.
Yeah, I definitely feel a little pressure.
Yeah. But at the same time, you know, you just got to do you know, in terms of how many games you can play. How many games should you play? I mean, it depends on, you shouldn't play more than what, if it's, you know, messing up your social life or your relationships, you need to calm down in the games.
You need to probably just play Breath of the Wild again.
We've kind of, we're kind of fortunate in that, I know I'm fortunate in that a lot of the social experiences I have with others is through gaming. So it's kind of like it's a social experience. You know, we stream Sea of Thieves. And then also Catherine and I love to have that moment every day when we know we're going to sit down for an hour and play a game together. It kind of is a you know, nice thing to help build our relationship as a, you know, a couple.
Yeah.
So, you know, you can do it in healthy ways. I think if you're isolating yourself and, you know, you're just like only playing video games all the time, you're probably playing too many games.
That's probably a problem, yeah. I mean, I think I'm lucky in the sense that most of the people that I care about keeping a good relationship going with, we either interact through music or games.
Right.
So it's like,
and those are things you're really interested
in. It's not going to be a problem.
Right. No, it's not. But I do think that a lot of people do have that issue where they get kind of a gaming addiction and then they kind of isolate themselves from the world, you know?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You know, they just sit around and play Call of Duty all the time. I'm not hating on Call of Duty. It's just the game.
You heard it, folks. You heard it. Randy just flippantly throwing off on Call of Duty players just because he's not one of them. You heard it here.
Oh, gosh.
Actually, I don't play Call of Duty either.
I know.
But I'm telling you what, I did play a little bit of Call of Duty Mobile.
Oh, really?
And that game, I mean, it feels just like Call of Duty. Like, I was super impressed. Like, that could be a game that could be a great, I mean, obviously it is a great mobile game.
Oh, no, yeah, I've heard a lot of people talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, that game ran so well, and I can see why people would love that. Probably the same thing with PUBG Mobile.
Yeah, that, I haven't, you know, these games that have mobile versions. I haven't really played, I played Fortnite Mobile a little bit.
Yeah, we can't do that anymore.
Is it not a thing?
Not on iPhone.
Oh, it's not been forever on iPhone.
Because Epic and Apple got so mad at each other.
Yeah.
That's old news.
That's old news. I don't really, I used to be all about mobile gaming back in, say, like 2009 through, when I was in college, like 2009 through 2013. I wasn't console gaming much. I had a Wii, had an Xbox 360, but I didn't play them a whole lot. Really, I played a lot of mobile games.
Yes, you did.
But now, if I play games on my phone, it's always puzzles. It's like word puzzles, like crosswords and stuff like that. Yeah.
I have like 2 games on my phone that I play, like BTD 6. Obviously, I love that game. I've talked to you about how I think Bloons Tower Defense is like the greatest mobile game of all time.
I was going to ask if you could tell. Bloons Tower Defense.
Bloons Tower Defense.
That's for BTD.
6. BTD 6. It is so good. And then beyond that, I have a game that I've actually played before. I saw it on a YouTuber's channel. He was playing it just like in a shot of B-roll like of a phone. He was playing this game and I remembered it. It's called Osmos.
Osmos.
Yeah, where you're this like little organism and you like have to propel yourself around these spaces and absorb like smaller organisms to get bigger. And the goal is to like get big enough to absorb like the biggest organisms.
Oh, so
and it's been
like
around forever.
It's like a
I remember
like
playing that.
Like a Katamari, what is it? Katamari Damacy reroll, like the game where you roll up everything and it gets bigger and bigger. It's kind of like that, but it's the thing you absorb it through the ground, right? Is that what you're saying?
No, you're like in space. You're like floating around in space, and so it's got all
but
these.
It's
like,
one of those games where you get bigger and bigger and you absorb and
Yeah,
there's
like
a whole bunch of games in that genre.
It's got some really cool physics, like with like different objects being certain sizes and having like gravitational pulls, and it's really fun. It's a great time killer.
It sounds fun. I like games like that. I used to play the one that had the hole in the ground, and you would like start by like, you know, picking up little things. You gradually move on to picking up cars and then buildings and like huge amounts. It was fun.
Yeah.
We should probably get back on topic though. A little rant about mobile games never hurt anybody. So now, Daniel, this is something that we've talked about a lot, and that's, should you feel pressure to finish every game that you start before you move on? Like, you know, you got your backlog games. Is it okay just to kind of sample them and then say, okay, I've got it? Or should you finish a game?
Well, I mean, this is something that I've wrestled with forever, because I have a reputation of not finishing games. I mean, I just do.
You do.
And it's something that I just want to go on record saying I do not like that about myself.
Fair enough.
So I do feel like a certain amount of pressure, but I almost feel like it's a self-fulfilling prophecy sometimes, because it's like I feel this pressure to finish this game, but then I find that I'm making really slow progress because I'm so busy with something else or whatever, and then a new game comes out, and I feel the FOMO.
You get the FOMO, yeah.
And then I like move on, and then it's like I have trouble, you know, and it just spirals. And, you know, by and large, the way I look at it is it's just games. And
you're just playing them to have fun.
Right, and it's fun. But I do want to finish the games that I want to finish. And that's not every game.
No.
You know, not every game that I've played do I feel pressured to put 15 hours into and finish, because I don't think it's great.
Right.
But the ones that are, I do.
But like at the same time, like I understand like that feeling like you should finish it, especially if you're making gaming content. You feel like you can't really talk about it until you finished it. Or if you do talk about it, you have that little bit of imposter syndrome, like you didn't finish that game. You don't really know what you're talking about.
Well, I would never put something in a video talking about a part of a game I didn't experience.
As long as you're honest with yourself and honest with people, you know.
Yeah, that's crazy. I'm not going to talk about the ending of a game I didn't experience.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be just dirty.
Yeah. But you know what I mean, though? Like, so even if you are being completely 100% honest and transparent, and be like, hey, I didn't finish this game, but, you know, here's my thoughts on it and stuff. Even then, you feel like a little bit like you should have finished it anyway, you know, just to be like, you know.
Well, you know, if I was, I guess I don't feel that, just because I think the way I would get around that is I'm not going to create a video and call it, you know, Sifu review if I didn't finish Sifu.
Right.
Which I did. I haven't made a review yet, but I did finish Sifu.
But you talked about it in your impressions.
I did. I talked about it in, you know, I made like a first impressions kind of video on Sifu, and that was before I had finished it. I was very upfront about it, and if I was going to make a video about a game I hadn't finished, I wouldn't call it review. You know, I would make it more focused on a certain part about the game that I felt qualified to talk about, or make it a first impressions. You know.
Now, even before we started doing Gaming Gig as a, you know, gaming channel, I felt very pressured to finish games. I think it's just, I still do.
Yeah.
But I just like, when I start a game, I'm just like dedicated to it. I just want to finish it. Even if it's a bad game, I want to finish it just so that I can like, I don't know. It's just a thing I like to do. I just like to finish games. I don't know what's up with it.
There's something special about seeing those credits roll.
There is, man. And I just love that feeling of when the credits roll, you feel like you've accomplished something. And the games that I've like stopped playing, they kind of nag at me. Like if I like didn't, like for example, Forza Horizon 5, the most recent one.
Yeah.
I didn't finish that game. And, you know, I made a video talking about the game, about how much I enjoyed it, but I didn't finish playing it. And it's just because I ran into other things, and like, not that I didn't like that game, because I really liked it, but it's a racing game, and I'm not that into racing games to begin with.
And you had just come from Horizon 4. And
I just played Horizon 4 a few months earlier, and it's just like, you know, I didn't feel like I needed to see the credits roll, but still part of me, that game still nags at me. So I don't know. I may go back.
Yeah.
But should you feel pressure to finish every game? I say no. It's all about having fun. And if you're enjoying the games you're playing, whether you're finishing them or not, it doesn't matter. You know, as long as you're enjoying it and as long as you're having fun playing games. That's the important part.
All right. So we talked about this a little bit already, but, you know, do you feel pressure to always be playing the newest game? You know, how much of that FOMO do you really let get to you?
You know, I certainly have like I even said that my morning game that I play is generally the new release game, whatever I feel like I'm. But that being said, I don't buy a game just because it's a big new game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't play the Call of Duties.
Yep.
I don't play the Battlefields.
Nope.
You know, all the sports games, all like the 2K games. I'm not into those. And I know they're big releases, but I don't pick them up. Okay.
Nope.
Elden Ring. You know, I was interested in Elden Ring, and I've kind of waited and said, you know, like if Daniel and Nick are playing it, and if they come back and they're like, dude, you have to play this game, then I might consider it. Mm-hmm. But if it's not, you know, like if it's not a game that I actually genuinely want to play, I won't purchase it.
Well, it's like we talked about that. It's almost like we collectively handled our FOMO on Elden Ring and for Horizon Forbidden West, because you texted me and Nick and you were like, hey, who's planning on picking up Elden Ring? And me and Nick were like, oh, we are. And you were like, okay, cool. I'm going to focus on Horizon.
Yeah.
Which took some pressure off me because, like, I want one of us to play it.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't have any, like, immediate pull to that game. I really don't. So I was...
Well, I mean, you started the first one, didn't finish it, so maybe it's like...
It was okay, and I liked it.
It's good. No, and I'm playing for Midwest now, and I can go ahead and say that it is a good game. It is not a risky game. It's not going to blow your mind, but it's also not going to disgust you with how bad it is, because it's a good game.
I hear it looks awesome.
Dude, it looks phenomenal. Okay, we'll save that for my review when I finish it. I might do a full-length review on that game.
Yeah.
Because there's some stuff to talk about.
Yep.
But should you always be playing? I don't know.
If you want to.
If you want to play the newest game, I mean, lots of people get a lot of joy out of always playing what's new and current.
I almost feel as much pull to go back and play old retro games that I know are great.
Like ones you've missed. Me too, for sure.
I feel just as much pull in that direction as towards the Horizons or the Elden Ring.
Yeah, like the brand new game.
Yeah.
And you're right, because you kind of want to be able to like say like, oh, remember, you know.
I want to have that piece
of
gaming history in my knowledge, you know, my working knowledge.
Yeah, like especially when you can be like, oh, this reminds me of this game, you know, that everyone's played except me, you know.
Like picking out, you know, when Dread came out, you know, and we had played all the 2D Metroids.
Yeah.
I felt extremely qualified to talk about how amazing Dread was.
Right.
You know, so, which is amazing. I'll just go down one more time and say it. Dread is amazing.
So, Daniel, do you ever buy games that you know you're never going to play or most likely aren't going to play? Do you ever like buy a game
and have no intention of trying to play it?
Not no intention, but I mean more like you ever buy a game knowing that although you want to play it, you probably never will.
There's probably some games I could make that argument for, like just knowing myself and the amount of time I have to commit to it. Like I could probably make the argument on some games like you're probably not going to get to this because you're not prioritizing it.
Yeah.
But I don't think I've ever bought a game and just thought, I just want this. I'm not going to play this. But I did talk about earlier how if, you know, Earthbound or something came up, like I would.
You would, yeah.
So like if it was for the collection, I would totally do that.
I rarely buy games just to well, I have done it. I've bought games just to collect them.
Yeah, Randy was about to lie to you guys.
Knowing I haven't done, because I have done that. I don't do it as much as I've done in the past. But there are certainly games, especially like retro games, where I will purchase it and be like, man, I'd like to play this game, but I also know that I'm not going to prioritize it. And I know that deep down I'm thinking like there's a very, very slim chance that I ever play this game.
Yeah. And some of those might be games I've played like on NSO or whatever. Like I just thought of Super Metroid.
Yeah.
I don't have any intention of putting another playthrough on Super Metroid.
Right.
But I would so buy one.
Right. And that's just for the collection.
You know?
So I think that comes down to, are you a collector?
Yeah.
But again, I want to reiterate that if you are purchasing games that you know you're never going to play, and you know, have no plans for like, and you're not just doing it to collect. If you have an addiction to buying video games, check yourself.
Yeah.
You don't want to be doing that.
Talk to somebody.
Somebody
cares about you.
But yeah. All right, man. You ready to move on to the poll?
I am. So this one goes right in line with our podcast topic for the day, but we asked the people, the gaming gig faithful, how many games are currently in your backlog? And honestly,
Did the results surprise you before we reveal the results? Did they?
Yes, they surprised me, and I think they've been falsified.
You think they've been falsified?
Yes.
Okay, tell me how.
Well, with 42%, most people said they had less than 5 games in their backlog. And I don't believe them.
Well,
I believe if you're participating in a video game poll on YouTube, you probably really love games. Gaming's probably one of your things. And how do you have less than 5 games that you're trying to get to?
I know that you don't think that. I think that number's
You think that's just
small.
more? Are we just weird? Are
I think
we the crazy ones?
Because I know
Okay.
a lot of my guitar and piano students really like gaming, and obviously a lot of them are younger, but they don't have games in their backlog, like period.
Okay.
Like if they get a game, they're playing it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe we're just the crazy ones.
So
And maybe it comes down to what's your definition of
So
a
almost
backlog.
half of people said they have less than 5. So obviously the majority of people, and maybe the majority of people watching right now, you don't have a big backlog, so it's not a problem to you. But then again, the other answer, which was more than 50 games, which I thought was like,
Yeah.
gosh, that's a lot of games.
That's also a little concerning.
30% almost, 28% said that more than 50, more than 50 games in their backlog. So yeah, I mean, if I counted up all, I might have more than 50, but I don't think so. Not in my strictest term of my backlog. I think in what I really think is my games I really want to play right now that I haven't. It's a fairly small number.
Yeah.
Now there may be some games that if I wanted to stretch it to be all the games on Game Pass that I would like to play, or on Nintendo Switch Online.
And maybe that's why I just thought less than 5 felt so weird, because that's how I think of it.
Right.
I think of it like if I have access to it and I want to play it.
Yeah.
Basically. So, yeah. I
mean, then you can start thinking about ROMs and stuff, and it's like...
Well, I wasn't going to bring up ROMs, but... Yep.
Now, if you count ROMs, I'm sure there are plenty of people who have more than 50 games in their backlog. Hundreds of games in their backlog.
Yes. I mean, you pull that Game Boy Advance off the wall, it's got that flash card in it. It'll just make you sad.
I don't really think you can count that, though.
Probably not.
So comment-wise, we have I don't know, it's a picture of a cat, and I don't know how to pronounce the name. Ramel
Puilinites.
Yeah, very difficult name to pronounce. But so if you're watching, we're very sorry about what Daniel did to your name.
Yeah, I bet you're really cool, though.
So it says around 300 games across all platforms, even PC. Most are Xbox, though. And I've been slowly getting through it, but ending up buying 24 more games in the last month and a half.
Whew.
See, that's the thing. You find out, you find a good used game store, and you buy 25 of them.
Yeah. I could see myself falling into that, too, if you found the right store.
Right, yeah.
I mean...
That's where I've struggled the most, is going into stores that sell used games. I'll buy stuff that I don't need, or that I really have no intention of playing, or very little intention of playing, because it's cheap. I'll have it for the collection.
Oh, this is a great deal.
Yeah.
Oh, we pull it, and you pull it up, and you're like, man, this is 50% off. Man, this is a great deal. And then I've got this $5 off coupon for the month that I haven't used yet. Yeah, you can rationalize. You can always rationalize it.
Yeah, me and GameStop have that relationship.
But what you have to remember is that spending money you weren't going to spend is still spending money, even if it is a good deal. You're actually not saving money if you weren't going to spend it in general.
I know.
I know you know
man.
this.
I've told myself this many times.
All right, so we got another one from old Bing Bong.
Bing Bong.
He says, when stuff goes on sale, I always find a reason to buy an old game that I loved or never got to try. Then I play it for an hour and then barely ever return to play it again, rinse and repeat.
And this is exactly what we were just talking about.
I've been there, Bing Bong.
You just buy a game because it's on sale or it's used or whatever, and you're like, ooh, that's a great deal for that game. And I've been kind of wanting to play that. But then there's the thing, you only kind of wanted to play it in the first place, so you would have bought it when it was full price if you really wanted to play it.
Yep.
And sometimes you find games that you buy that are on sale, and you do actually play them, but lots of times you just barely play them.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's...
And the less amount of money you put into the game, the less you're
the less pressure.
The less pressure you are to actually play it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then your backlog just keeps growing. But then I asked the question, I said, does it count as your backlog if you've played it a little bit? and then you've just stopped playing it. Like if you basically, because in my mind, if you started playing it for an hour or two and then you
Didn't love it.
You didn't love it, and so then you move on to something else. Is it really in your backlog anymore?
I would say no. I would say
I think I would too.
Yeah, I would say no. I mean, true finality is in the mind. And if you're done with it, whether you saw the credits or not, I say it's not in your backlog.
Right. And then, and that to me is an interesting poll because it kind of tells us. So we didn't go through all the details again. We'll go back to it real quick. 15% of people said 6 to 10 games. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's about where I think I sit.
Yeah.
7% of people said 11 to 20 games, and then 9% of people said 21 to 50. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was really interesting how the graph kind of like peaked at the two extremes and then the least amount in the middle. So it's maybe that's the two different personalities of, people tend to, flock to the extremes when it comes to this backlog thing.
I think so. I think you could be onto something there.
Yeah, that or people, think they either have very few games or they think they have a whole lot of games and they don't really think about that in-between number. Mm-hmm. Maybe the people who pick those in-between are really thinking and kind of counting up in their head. You know? Rather being like, oh, I don't have hardly any, I got less than 5. Or, oh, I got so many, it's got to be more than 50.
Right. That's kind of where my mind immediately went, was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's got to be a lot.
It's got to be a lot of games. But how many games are in your backlog, guys? And, let us know what you think about this whole backlog conundrum, because it's something that I think as gamers we run across all the time. Should we grow our backlog? Is it even a good idea? Or will we be better off just really playing the games that we own and only buying games that you really plan to play a lot of?
Probably.
It really is a conundrum.
It is.
It really is.
And guys, don't forget to follow us over on the Twitters, the TikToks, and the Twitches. We are over there all the time. Obviously, if you're here, you probably found us on YouTube, unless you're on one of the multiple podcasting apps, in which case we're glad to have you. But go ahead and find our Discord server invite link in the YouTube channel as well, because we're really trying to build that community, and we'd love to see you over there.
Yeah, guys, we'd love to see you wherever other projects are, whether it's Twitch or, we post stuff on TikTok and Instagram and all that. So check us out there. If you don't get enough of us here on YouTube, or we just like you to be part of our community. So join our Discord, do all the things, guys.
All the things.
Well, it's been fun. This has been a fun episode to talk about. I enjoyed talking about backlogs.
For sure. I mean, we do it enough, just the two of us. It was nice to finally get it off our chest and put it out into the internet.
Yeah. Well, all right, guys. Until next time, I'm Randy.
And I'm Daniel.
And this has been Gaming Gig.
Peace out.